Hello guys, this is Main Nuts and this is the part 2 of the playing vs a calling station video. We will pick it up from where we left it last time, so just a short reminder for anyone who haven't watched the previous video. We played button versus big blind. We opened the button, big blind calls, ace 9-8, 2 diamonds. He checks, we bet half pot, he calls, turns a 4, he checks, and we have the option to bet or check. Here the GTO solution is up left, and the exploitive one is the down right. So right exploit, up left GTO, okay? And the exploit here is that the node block I've made is that in the second barrel, when the in-position player barrels for 66% of the pot, I think is that, a big blind should fold some percentage of his ace-x combos, and in real world, I believe that nobody will fold, or at least some sticky regs will always call any ace, and that's a node lock. And now we compare the EVs of some buckets of hands between the GTO solution and the exploitive solution. So let's say that you reach the turn, you have king 9 of the flush, so you have nuts. In the GTO solution, the EV is 397, but in the exploitive one, it's 407. So this is a gain of 50 big blinds per 100 EV, which comes from the fact that the villain, the big blind, is overcalling versus your 2 barrels. Okay. The second strongest hands, the hands like 2 pairs and sets, win like 35 big blinds, 25, 75, 65. And then we have some medium strong hands, the top pairs with flush draw or with no flush draw, gaining from 10 to 30 bigs per 100. It's interesting to see that the showdown hands, the hands like queens, jacks, ace 3, okay, you don't have that, you don't have this these hands in your betting range too often. As you can see, queens are betting only 10% and jacks are betting only like 18%. But still, you can have some queens with flush draw, jacks with flush draw, 10 with flush draw. And this kind of hands, or even hands like ace 3 with hearts, let's say ace 3 of hearts, bad top pairs, which are pure showdown value hands. As you can see, this kind of hands doesn't gain or lose EV right now because exactly it's in the middle of your range. So even if your opponent's overcalling, the showdown value hands doesn't gain EV because they shouldn't bluff and they shouldn't do barrel anyway. So even if your villain overcalls, you should just check. Okay. And lastly, you can see the bluffs. Bluffs are hands like king jack with nut blocker, 3s with blocker, 3s without the blocker, and hands like jack 10 with flush draw again, and open-ended. These kinds of hands are losing EV in the second barrel, and the fact is the analysis is very simple. Because a villain will call more and he's overcall, you're just losing EV, barreling the turn. Now, stick with that, okay? So let's make that yellow. And now compare the river actions, okay? So let's say we go bet. As you can see, the solver in the GTO, in the exploitive solution, which is, I remind you, the right one, keeps betting with 3s, deuces, and this kind of bluffs. Let's say king jack with nut blocker, where is it? King jack with blocker, or with jack of diamonds as well. And solver is betting even maybe, let's say, solver is choosing an action, the action to bluff here is less, it gain less EV than the check. Still, solver chooses to bluff with that combo, so it bets 66% of the pot, which gains like let's check the 3 of spades, 3 of clubs. Okay, so betting 199 here, it's gaining 12 chips of 12 chips of expected value, and the check is gaining like 17 chips. That's a huge difference. Okay, that's a huge difference. Still, the solver chooses to bet. Why is that? We can see why in a minute. So if we go bet, and the villain calls, and the river is, let's say, 8 of hearts, it's random. I choose the river totally random. I will also do that the same action on the GTO, but bet 66% of the pot, call, and the river is an 8, and goes check, of course. Now let's check the overall EV of the in-position player. In the GTO is 191. In the exploited one, it's 222. So in all runouts, in all river runouts, in-position player gains, how much is that? Around 30 chips more. The game is 10-20, so this is how much is that? Yes, this is like 1.5 big blinds per hand. That's 150 big blinds per 100. 150 big blinds per 100. Huge number. More. Okay. And now let's see what the in-position player is bluffing with. Let's check again the threes. And as you can see now, the 3 of spades, 3 of clubs, betting 276, which is 66% of the pot. Betting again 66% of the pot is gaining 50 chips of EV, while in the GTO solution, the same size, the same action is losing 4.52 chips. The reason is very simple. When I not look for the villain to overcall the turn, but as I said in my previous video, there is a really common mistake many people make, many Rex make. They will overcall one street and then they have to overfold the other street. Now also think about that when I not look the turn, so when I say that the villain will just call any ace, I not look, and then the solver from that street on tries to play GTO. So the solver will overfold by nature, trying to balance the unbalanced, let's say, action of the previous street. And that's not really uncommon. I mean, when somebody's overcalling the flop or overcalling versus 2-barrel, when some call seems really reasonable, then he might end up overfolding the next street. Of course, if the villain is not, let's say, bet here and let's see what he's folding. Now, villain should fold some portion of his ace-x on the river. Okay, and I think it's reasonable to believe that some villains will fold, like ace-5, ace-6, with no blocker. Okay, as you can see here, he can still call some ace-x without a blocker, so he might fold even more than that. If a villain is folding like any ace-x without plus blocker, then he might end up folding more than that. And if he folds more than that, your bluffs here will gain even more EV. Okay, and that being said, the point of this video is exactly what you can see here. You can still bet against calling stations, but you will not gain the EV you can gain if you just bet one straight. If I just bet the turn, let's say I just bet the turn with threes. Okay, how much is the EV? It's 12. Or maybe let's check Excel. If I just bet the turn, I will and check the river, I will lose in EV more than GTO. So if I play a GTO range on the turn by betting and then just give up on the river, as you can see, GTO is not betting the river with 3 of spades, 3 of clubs. It is always a check. white is always a check because the villain has folded in a correct way on the turn, so there is no merit in over bluffing the river, and this is why it checks. So if you play GTO range and you just c-bet the turn, so bluff the turn, like here, and check the river with the bluffs, you will end up losing this amount of EV. Of course, you will gain more with your nut hands and strong hands. So GTO is not losing, it's GTO, but you could still exploit by playing a GTO style with, that's not correct. Playing an exploitive strategy where you just bet the nuts and the strong hands and the medium strong hands, and under bluffing the turn with the bluffs is one option. But it's even better option if you know that your villain is overfolding the river, of course, to just keep betting multiple streets and make them overfold on the river. Okay, so it's two different strategies. Let's summarize. Let's summarize. So, 1. If villain overfolds, turn, no other info. Oh, sorry. Let's say it's overcall. So, bet strong hands. Don't bet bluffs. And there is a second strategy. If villain overcall turn and overfold or fold GTO style. Bet some hands turn. Sorry, let's do it better. Don't bet with stop betting bluffs. And there is a second strategy: villain overcall turn and overfold or fold in GTO style on the river. Then you should bet some hands on the turn. Of course, value bet thinner on the river, and of course bluffing. Keep, maybe this is not correct, not value bet thinner because he overfolds. Sorry about that. And keep bluffing with your turn bluffs. So it's 3 barrel. Okay, pretty simple, pretty easy. It makes perfect sense. It probably doesn't need a solver to tell you this kind of strategy. But my point was that usually when I saw somebody like, let's say, having a low percentage of, let's say he fold to c-bet turn, very low frequency, I usually just stop betting, stop barreling. But in reality, you should just check every street, every node, every possible node of the game tree, and see if you can exploit in a later street. So if you can see that a guy is folding very low frequency on the turn and very high or even normal frequency on the river. So for example, let's say that the GTO fold is let's say fold VSC bet GTO. So I'm not sure about the numbers, but let's say it's something like 40, 50, 55 or 60. I don't know. Let's say that's something like that. And you see a guy have like, let's say 40, 35, 60. Let's say he has something like that. Okay, So this is the GTO numbers, and this is the exploitive numbers. And if you see this kind of stats, this 60 is not the same as this 60. So it's definitely sure that your villain is overfolding the river. So you should follow the strategy too. If you don't know what he's doing on the river, if you just did that, or if you don't have many hands and you are not sure, then okay, if you have only these numbers, then okay, you can follow strategy 1, it's probably safer. Okay, so that being said, that's it for the video, guys. Thank you, see you in the next one. Bye.